can be hard to grasp that with all the knowledge we have today, there are still things that remain a mystery to us. People make incredible discoveries that leave us in awe every so often. And with every discovery, a new light is shed on the universe, making us see it in a whole new way. Who knows what other secrets remain to be uncovered? So today we will be looking at 3 incredible discoveries about the wonders of our universe. Sudan tomb diver reveals Pharaoh's secrets. A courageous team has finally entered one of Sudan's lost mysteries and found hidden treasures along the way. The first people to enter a pharaoh's tomb that lays underneath a pyramid for 100 years have made their way into the ancient royal burial site in the depths of Sudan. Amazingly, this was the first time underwater archaeology had been attempted in Sudan, which is the location of the ancient royal burial site of Nuri. The site had not been visited because the rising water levels made access incredibly difficult. Despite the challenges, the team, led by underwater archaeologist P.S. Paul Kreisman, found pottery figurines and a gold leaf while exploring Nuri. Kreisman believes these offerings were for Nastasen, a minor pharaoh who ruled the Kush kingdom from 335 BC to 315 BC. The fact that the team was able to find the gold leaf was incredible because it probably would have been taken by thieves if not for the difficulty of accessing the tomb. It seems that events aligned perfectly for Kreisman's team to find these discoveries. The pyramid complex contains tombs for Kushite royals who sometimes get referred to as Black and even conquered and ruled Egypt for almost a century. This ancient civilization was incredibly advanced for its time in terms of culture and politics, and differentiating from the famous pyramids in Egypt, the pyramids in Sudan have their kings buried below them, not inside. As expected, this expedition was by no means an easy task. The divers were able to go down 40 stairs of the 65-step stairway, before realizing the only way to go deeper was to go completely underwater. Knowing that scuba tanks would have been too burdensome, they instead used an oxygen hose connected directly from the surface supply. The finding of this ancient tomb is nothing short of remarkable. Kreisman explained, "There are 3 chambers with these beautiful arched ceilings about the size of a small bus. You go in one chamber, into the next, it's pitch black. Know your inner tomb if your flashlights aren't on, and it starts revealing the secrets that are held within." With Kreisman and his team's discovery, we have uncovered more of the fascinating history of this ancient civilization that has left so much more to discover. Astronomers discover new type of star that science cannot yet explain. Not only is there much to uncover about the history of this planet of ours, but there is a vast unknown universe out there that we want to know more about. Yet we learn more and more every day. This includes a new type of star that German astronomers have discovered whose origins they have not yet been able to explain. These new white dwarfs are covered in what seems like an ash layer that is usually produced by burning helium. Usually, when stars run out of fuel, they explode, leaving behind a dense core that no longer undergoes fusion. The remnants of these stars are called white dwarfs that then go through a cooling process to the background temperature of the universe for trillions of years. However, the discovery of this new type of star has left scientists scratching their heads. While white dwarfs have atmospheres made chiefly of hydrogen or helium, these new stars have an incredible amount of carbon and oxygen in their atmospheres. Usually white dwarfs have either no traces of carbon and oxygen or a slight amount, but astronomers found these elements take up as much as 20% of their atmospheres. Even more surprising is that these white dwarfs are hotter and wider than most white dwarfs, which indicates that their cores may still be burning helium. As the lead researcher of the team, Professor Klaus Werner, reflected, "Normally we expect stars with these surface compositions to have already finished burning helium in their cores, and to be on their way to becoming white dwarfs. These new stars are a severe challenge to our understanding of stellar evolution. Despite the mystery, researchers have a hypothesis for what created these new stars. White dwarf pairs can sometimes pull each other together until they collide and form a new object. The researchers believe that if a carbon and oxygen-rich white dwarf collided with a helium-rich one, it is possible they could have formed these strange stars. This hypothesis is not fully explained by the new star's features. However, so more investigation needs to be done. There is only one thing that is certain when it comes to these new stars, and that is that we are only beginning to get to the bottom of what they are, and what their discovery means in terms of our understanding of the universe. Mystery dark object blamed as giant star disappears. Adding to our questions about the universe is a new puzzle that scientists have not been able to solve. 25,000 light-years away, scientists observed something incredible called BVV-WIT-08. BVV-WIT-08 is a giant star that is roughly 100 times larger than our Sun. What is even more of a mystery to scientists is the dark object that eclipses this star. The eclipse is thought to occur once every few decades and has only been seen once in 17 years of observations. Incredibly, the eclipse lasted for 200 days. Astronomers do not know what covers WIT-08 and causes it to dim by 97%, almost disappearing from the sky during the eclipse. Whatever exactly is Dr. Sergei Kapasov from the University of Edinburgh has stated, it's amazing that we just observed a dark, large and elongated object pass between us and the distant star, and we can only speculate what its origin is. One thing astronomers do know is that the odds of an unknown object inexplicably floating in front of a star are incredibly low. Simulations indicate that there would need to be thousands or even millions more dark bodies scattered throughout the galaxy for this to be a chance occurrence. The scientists have now assigned BVV-WIT-08 to a new class of blinking giant binary star systems, because they also discovered more potential known star systems with large stars and opaque disks. Although BVV-WIT-08 is quite a strange entity, there are other examples of eclipsing star systems. One such example has been known for a while: the giant star Epsilon Aurigae. This star is partially eclipsed every 27 years by a massive dust disk. There is also TYC 2505671, which was discovered in 2016 and is eclipsed by a binary star once every 69 years. These discoveries bring out the question of just how many more of these star systems exist. Though we have discussed 3 incredible discoveries that have occurred in recent times, we have only scratched the surface of what is out there. The universe is vast and still holds many secrets waiting to be discovered. Each new archaeological find, astronomical discovery, and scientific breakthrough changes the way we see ourselves and our place in the world. It is amazing to think about all that remains undiscovered, and we can only imagine what future discoveries will tell us about our history, our present. And what do you make of these incredible discoveries?
Our world
is rife with mysteries and enigmas. Through the years, a myriad of wondrous events have occurred and thousands of amazing discoveries have been made. We can never be quite sure what lies beyond the horizon. Between archaeological wonders and the rapid development of technology, there is an unbound potential for our future. So today we'll be taking a look at recent discoveries. Forest Grove Sound. In February 2016, the residents of Forest Grove, a small town in Oregon, United States, heard a high-pitched noise multiple times for several nights. At first, it was thought that the sound was caused by the equipment used by the Department of Forestry. However, the authorities determined that their equipment was not the cause of the sound. The residents of the city made videos of the sound, which went viral. The strange sound phenomenon was widely covered in mainstream media. Many videos of the sound are still present on the internet. The sound was heard in different parts of the city. Some people described the sound as a siren, while others described it as a high-pitched flute sound. The sounds were mostly heard during the night, and they lasted from 10 seconds to a few minutes. Many residents called the police to report the sound. However, the police had no explanation for it, and eventually asked residents to stop making calls about the noise, as it did not pose a safety hazard, and they could not do anything about it. There were a number of theories about the mysterious sound. Some people linked it to the sewer system. However, city authorities denied that it was coming from the city sewers. There were also claims that the sound was made by the gas pressure in nearby gas plants. But the gas company also denied that it was being made by their plant. Residents of the city started proposing some unconventional sources for the sounds. These included frogs, aliens, and Bigfoot. Everyone seemed to have a theory about the sound, but no one had any evidence. Even the authorities were clueless. The mysterious sounds were heard for a few days and then they were never heard again. To this day, the residents of Forest Grove wonder what the cause of these sounds were. Christopher Lee Cessna missing in 2011. Christopher Lee Cessna was announced missing. The disappearance of Cessna was reported to the Cary Police Department on April 27, 2011. Cessna, aged 45 at the time of the disappearance, would now be 55 as of 2021. The delayed involvement of the Great Smoky Mountains National Park compared to the other harrowing cases discussed is because Christopher Lee Cessna was not a hiker and his family had no reason to believe he was heading to the mountains. So why did the mountainous national park become such a central element to the case? A car was parked at the newfound Gap parking area for a number of weeks and initially this caused no concern, with it often having cars left for long periods of time due to the popular Appalachian Trail that runs through it. However, one particular car was not expected to be there, and many doubt that its owner was hiking. Cessna's 2009 Audi was found at the National Park's car park. Once this connection had been made, park rangers began to search for the missing man, checking the Appalachian Trail, the car park, and any other routes that may connect. Indications that he may have ventured off trail were being actively looked out for, as well as shelter logs for the possibility that his name may have appeared. Tragically, not long before his disappearance, Cessna had been described as seemingly low on hope and fulfillment, and the handgun he is known to have owned was nowhere to be found within his home. Many suspect that he ended his life. It is the nightmare of many parents, family members and friends to have a loved one go missing and be gripped with uncertainty, and the harshness of the mountains can only heighten those fears. Our thoughts are with those who are missing a loved one. Fariba Amani disappeared while on a cruise with her boyfriend. The last thing you would expect while on a beautiful tropical cruise between the Bahamas and Florida is to disappear without a trace. However, that is exactly what happened to beautician Fariba Amani while on a cruise with her loving boyfriend. A disappearance was reported by none other than her boyfriend, Ramez Galshani, whom she apparently had a tumultuous relationship with. Naturally, suspicion was cast onto him as prime suspect. Even Amani's sister said that Amani was thinking about breaking up with Galshani before the trip occurred. Galshani had a different story. The night before he reported her disappearance, he left for the casino at about 1 a.m., while Amani went straight to the gift shop. As soon as he arose in the morning, he claimed that she was nowhere to be found. Even though authorities never labeled him as a suspect, Amani's family did not put his story behind him. Saying that she was never drunk, they firmly believed that her disappearance was not accidental. Galshani had never tried to contact them either, which further affirmed their doubts. He claimed that he was very tired, exhausted enough to even refuse an interview with the Vancouver Sun. However, he reiterated that he wanted Amani safe and sound back home. If she did not return, she was leaving 2 kids behind. After a search was conducted of the cruise ship that carried more than 1,100 passengers, there was no trace of Amani at all. Even the ocean waters near the Bahamas and Florida produced no results once the Coast Guard finished trawling the area. In the end, only a burning question remains. Was this a murder at the hands of her boyfriend, or was it simply an accident? It's a mystery that just might remain unexplained forever. What do you make of these 3 discoveries and announcements? As surveyors of our own atmosphere near our Earth, we sometimes forget that discoveries are only set in stone until the next one comes along. A world as incredible as ours gives us answers to some questions, while leaving us with more simultaneously. So today we're going to go into 3 of the most recent mysteries and discoveries that have left us fascinated and curious, all surrounding the of outer space. NASA's spacecraft picks up some odd noises. As members of planet Earth, we have found ourselves drawn to learning about our moon over time. But what about the moons of other planets? Juno, NASA's spacecraft which launched from Florida in 2011, left Earth with the sole goal of learning more about Jupiter. After 5 years, it arrived. Now in June of 2021, NASA's spacecraft has detected noises unlike any we have ever encountered. Ganymede is Jupiter's largest moon, and a 50-second audio recording while Juno passed by in June revealed the strange noises. An array of odd beeps and bops, all at different frequencies, were picked up. Ganymede, which is also known for being the largest moon in our solar system and the only moon with its own magnetic field, has often been intriguing. But these noises took the unknown to a whole new level. Juno's wave instrument tunes into electric and magnetic radio waves, and it picks up these waves from Ganymede's magnetic field. A full deep dive into analyzing what these noises could be is actively being worked on. According to the lead co-investigator William Kurth, it is possible the change in the frequency shortly after closest approach is due to passing from the night side to the day side of Ganymede. New data has also given indications of some likeness between Earth and Jupiter as well. Although Jupiter's energy system is on a scale much larger than Earth's, understanding the dynamics of the Jovian atmosphere could help us understand the physical mechanisms at play on our own planet, said NASA. The investigation of Jupiter will continue through to at least November of 2025, and we cannot wait to see what else is unveiled. NASA wants to build a magnetic force field and a deep sleep chamber for astronauts. NASA once again takes their explorations and impressive innovations a step further with more futuristic concepts and inventions. As of now, the Innovative Advanced Concept NIAC program is working 8 selected projects, 2 of which involve a magnetic force field and a new habitat for astronauts. One of the challenges NASA has experienced when attempting to colonize Mars is knowing that landing on the surface risks crashing or burning up. An idea called the magnetoshell would, in theory, create a magnetic field around a spacecraft heading to Mars. Researchers are hoping that this would act as a set of brakes and possibly require less fuel for landing. After initially planning to use this for Mars and Neptune landings, now possibilities are endless as researchers are thinking it may work for crewed missions all over in the future. Now, once crewed missions arrive, what are their habitats like? The proposed deep sleep chamber is a chamber capable of medically supporting astronauts who would be in a deep sleep. This idea originated as some missions could take years for astronauts to arrive to the destination. The idea is that this long sleep could keep astronauts feeling refreshed. Though not much is currently known about the plans for this chamber, engineers are exploring how this idea could optimize astronauts' long experiences in space. We are sure if the research proves a success, but we will hear more about the Vision System Torpor Habitat, the name of the project and deep sleep chamber idea in the future. NASA's new ion thruster breaks records. The University of Michigan, in collaboration with NASA and the U.S. Air Force, have broken records in a recent test with their new X-3 thruster. Hopeful that this thruster could transport astronauts to Mars, this thruster utilizes plasma as a mode of motion, which reaches speeds greater than what can be accomplished with chemical propulsion rockets. Team leaders on the project thinking humans could set foot on Mars in as little as 20 years with the technology. Ion engines are more efficient and require less propellant to transport a full crew. The lead on the project, Alec Gallimore, says that the ionic propulsion can go 10 times further with roughly the same amount of fuel. Based on new knowledge, anything we can do to reduce the weight to require less fuel to get into space is ideal. The recent tests show that the X-3 thruster can operate over roughly 100 kilowatts, which translates to 5.4 N of thrust, which is the highest to date. This also broke maximum records for power output and operating current. Like any technology, it does have some limitations. It is currently not ready for launch. Engineers are continuing to work on multiple channels of plasma rather than one, while not losing any power. Right now, the thrusters can be picked up and moved around with ease. However, the X-3 version must be moved with a crane. A new shielding system is also being developed to protect the walls of the thruster. Preventing damage will allow it to operate longer. The idea of moving at the speed of light has long amazed fans of sci-fi and children in science class. The idea that we have advanced technology far enough to be able to produce rockets that can nearly approach the speed of light is incredible in itself, and for thought that this technology could bring us to Mars in a matter of years is astounding. The strides being made today are impressive, and they may even be the catalyst that sets up the upcoming generations for the largest discoveries in this millennium. We are going to keep an eye out for further updates on these exciting discoveries, and we feel assured with the mindset of the modern-day solar pioneers at NASA, we will have more to report on very soon. But what do you make of these recent discoveries? Make sure to let us know your thoughts in the comment section below and help us by growing this community while working to solve these unexplained mysteries. There are mysteries all around us, and we are fascinated by what we cannot understand. Inexplicable phenomena are discovered every day, keeping our curiosity piqued and the prospect of knowing the world around us a foreign concept. So today, we'll be exploring 3 interesting discoveries, exploring the vast dark corners of the universe, its ancient galaxies, and the possibility for life on Mars. Dwarf galaxy Gliese 710 will arrive sooner than expected. Astronomers have known for a while now that Gliese 710 has been heading our way, but recent findings suggest that this may be sooner than they once thought. Approximately 60% of the Sun's mass, Gliese 710 is a dwarf star whose current trajectory will bring it within a fifth of a light year of our solar system. But there is still slightly over 1 million years before this happens. In 2016, European Space Agency astronomers calculated that Gliese 710 would come closest to Earth in 1.35 million years, time at a distance of 0.25 light-years. However, recent calculations have revised these numbers to a time frame of 1.29 million years and a much closer distance of just 0.07 light-years. While Gliese 710 will not collide with Earth and so our planet will be safe, concerns stem from the fact that it will encounter the Oort cloud. The Oort cloud is a huge expanse of comets which surround our Sun and up to a light-year away from its surface. Therefore, while Gliese will not touch Earth or any of the other planets in our solar system directly, colliding with the Oort cloud could well disturb comets with catastrophic effects. Dislodged comets could then collide with any planet in our solar system or affect the Sun's gravitational pull. Scientists' latest reports state that they still doubt that Gliese 710 will have any significant gravitational effect on planets. However, the close approach may trigger a major comet shower which will affect the inner solar system. Either way, Gliese 710 is still at least a good million years away from us, and so we will not be affected by its eventual approach. However, it would be interesting to know what does happen in the far future and how future generations cope with potential cosmic chaos. Elon Musk's first human colony on Mars would have to survive on a vegan diet. Could not be anything more like a movie. Elon Musk recently announced that future Martians will survive by growing their own food in solar-powered hydroponic glass dome farms. As a result, meat will not be on the menu, and these first people on Mars will have to survive on a completely vegan diet. Musk does say, at least for the moment, that it will likely only be the first 100 people on Mars who are limited to fully vegan cuisine, owing simply to the extremely high levels of power which will be required to run and maintain the self-sustaining farms, combined with the obviously limited resources. For example, a study written by John Strickland from the National Space Society outlined the fact that you would have the number of people domes could sustain if they also required diet. Similarly, it is also thought that if people did stick to a plant-only diet, a 0.3 square mile farm with 4 levels to it could feed a colony of approximately 5,000. However, Musk does not foresee glass domes being the story of life on Mars forever, and rather suggests them to be a form of temporary habitats for the first cohort of people to help develop more permanent infrastructure on the red planet. With Starship, Mars rocket looking highly likely to be ready for its first test orbit sometime this year, the possibility of life on Mars is becoming increasingly real. Therefore, preparing for other logistical details such as how to then survive once you have reached Mars will be the next groundbreaking research needed in the field to continue expanding our horizons, quite literally. Plans for life on Mars are wide and varied. China, United States, and the United Arab Emirates all have plans to succeed at cracking human travel to Mars by 2040, and the UAE has gone so far as to plan future civilization on the red planet. However, Musk is currently making headway and has the most aggressive plan aiming to get a human crew to Mars by 2026 and an established thriving city by 2050. With international involvement creating even more competition and incentive, be the first to Mars and first to facilitate life on Mars too. James Webb Space Telescope project will map 500,000 early galaxies. Founded in 2002, the Cosmic Evolution Survey, known as COSMOS, has been running alongside the Hubble Space Telescope to try and map the skies as widely as possible, especially with respect to mapping galaxies accurately. Now, NASA's James Webb Space Telescope will run alongside COSMOS for its first year as a COSMOS Webb project. Current achievements in this sphere have been the use of Hubble to image areas of the sky as large as 10 moons wide, and then later being able to work across multiple wavelengths of light. Webb joins the endeavor and is expected to image a staggering 500,000 ancient galaxies in its first year alone, by observing the skies for 200 hours. Astronomers hope that by adding Webb to COSMOS, we'll be able to extend their coverage of near and mid-infrared wavelengths and thus push the boundaries of how far away they are able to see. Scientists have also added that they hope to be able to examine the structure behind galactic formation on a larger scale than before, while also searching for the most ancient galaxies in our universe. The overall goal is to examine the evolution of the earliest stars in our universe, search for and map fully fledged galaxies, and to gain deeper insight into the mystery that is dark matter. By mapping dark matter distribution in galaxies which have existed since close to the start of time, this is another exciting area with huge potential for groundbreaking discoveries to be made. At the moment, the James Webb Telescope still has some final tweaks to be made before it becomes fully operational and part of the Cosmos Webb exploration effort. Once its mirrors are adjusted appropriately and its instruments calibrated, there is no doubt that astronomers will be able to discover previously unknown galaxies. And as a result, our current understanding of the night sky will continue to grow. But what do you make of these outer space discoveries? Science is an incredible topic. Each year, the world's best minds come together to help us better understand the world around us. We are entering a new age, one where innovative ideas and technology will launch us into a new frontier, one that relies heavily on these advancements. Scientists and researchers recently came forward in detail at their latest creation. Back in 2021, British company Oxitec revealed that they released 750 million genetically modified mosquitoes in Florida. At the time, scientists who were involved said that there's definitely advantages with modified mosquitoes. For example, they're said to reduce the spread of infections, and that these new mosquitoes will mate with existing wild mosquitoes, and because their genetic makeup is different, it means that their offspring won't survive, and that wild populations that are considered a pest will decrease dramatically. Batavas, who read the story, also noted that these Frankenstein creatures may pose an undetectable threat to not only humans, but also Mother Nature, saying that they may develop new unknown pathogens that could be harmful to humans. On May 1st, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency granted an experimental use permit to OxyContin, the company behind mosquitoes, to release them into the wild. While officials have said that this is fine and that they won't have an effect on people, residents close to the release area aren't sure how to feel about this, with many saying that these genetically modified mosquitoes could damage the ecosystem and may actually create a super durable hybrid mosquito that is resilient to insect repellent. According to Oxitec's website, the company has said that when first releasing these mosquitoes in Brazil, they received positive results. The company has also said that the government has signed off plans which will allow them to release these mosquitoes in Texas. Now the company has announced that it's planning on releasing another 2 billion mosquitoes, and that they plan to do this across Florida and California. This new species has been called OX5034, and the researchers have said that the idea is that these new lab-created mosquitoes have a self-limiting gene, and further noted that they're all male. The 2 billion mosquitoes that will be released into the wild will make carrying on their genes difficult, with the researchers saying that they know it's only female mosquitoes that bite humans because they rely on blood to produce eggs. So the idea behind the release is that these modified males will produce with the wild females. The males who are genetically modified will carry a protein that will stop the female offspring before they reach a mature age. Oxitec, which is the company behind the study, has said it's reaching out to state regulators in the hopes that they can run more of these programs and release billions more of these mosquitoes into the wild. Oxitec has been vocal about this program and has said that these mosquitoes will not have an impact on the environment, and that their lab-created genes were not spread throughout the area. They've said that their tech will stop genes from entering the ecosystem. Oxitec also pointed out that these genetically modified mosquitoes are safe, and that people shouldn't worry, noting that their studies have shown that they only target their own species. The company has said that the results have been promising, and that they're reaching out to officials in order to lab-create more insects to release into the wild, with them saying that they hope this can be a continuous program. Not everyone was happy about this, though. At the time of the first announcement, local residents around Florida Keys voiced their concerns about the release of these mosquitoes, with 237,000 people signing a Change.org petition. The petition said the following: right now, a British company named Oxitec is planning to release genetically modified mosquitoes into the fragile environment of the Florida Keys in Texas. The company wants to use Florida Keys in Texas as a testing ground for these mutant bugs. Even though the local community in the Florida Keys have spoken, we've even passed an ordinance demanding more testing. First, Oxitec is trying to use a loophole by applying to the FDA for an animal bug patent. Now, the hot potato has been passed to the EPA, and Oxitec is at it again. This profit-driven biotech company wants to release more than 50 million genetically modified mosquitoes per week into Florida and also Texas. These GMI mosquitoes could pose major risk to fragile environments like the Florida Keys and Texas, and may pose risks to public health and safety. Once again, Oxitec wants to treat people like human experiments. Even though the EPA doesn't have enough information about the environmental, health, and even indirect economic impacts of these insects, it might give Oxitec the green light. Over the past several years, we've all raised our voices to help stop what would have been the first release of millions of GMO mosquitoes into the US. Now we need to stop this non-consensual experiment again. Tell the EPA to not approve the GMO mosquitoes. We do not consent to being a human experiment, and we do not want GMO mosquitoes. Over 30 local physicians have created a petition to ask for more evaluation of the risk of the GMO mosquitoes, the possible development of antibiotic-resistant risks. These GMO mosquitoes are created with E. coli bacteria and other ingredients. This is very premature technology with very little information. A lot of questions need to be answered. The CDC notes that Oxitec trials are not set up to test for disease reduction. If the experiments go forward, there would still be enough non-GMO mosquitoes in the environment, including in people's homes and backyards, to spread diseases. Even the head of the Cayman Islands, which recently rejected GMO mosquitoes, has said that GMO mosquitoes will not be a solution for fevers that pose a risk to human life. End quote. So what do you guys make of this experiment? Our world is rife with mysteries and enigmas. Through the years, a myriad of wondrous events have occurred and thousands of amazing discoveries have been made. We can never be quite sure what lies beyond the horizon. Between archaeological wonders and the rapid development of technology, there is an unbound potential for our future. So today we'll be taking a look at recent discoveries. The repeating radio burst. The mysterious essence of radio bursts is a spectacle that scientists have considered for ages. Radio bursts produce sprouts of fast radio waves. The duration of these powerful sprouts are milliseconds from light years away, inhabiting galaxies. Astronomers have been inept to pinpoint a consistent cycle of a radio burst until now. As of earlier in 2020, the fast radio burst 121102 was discovered to be a recurrent and distinct cycle. Fluent cycles of radio bursts are a foreign concept. The extent of the cycle consists of 157 days. The initial 67 days, the source remains mute. While the remaining 90 days, it is bestirred from its slumber. During this stage of the cycle, it gives out frequent radio sprouts before being hushed back into oblivion. Typically, traces of radio bursts that are identified only sprout once. This imposes a challenge on astronomers as their conception is widely speculated. Subsequently, they are futile to forecast and detect. The discovery of FRB 121102 along with the assistance of other radio burst sources, has helped in growing a lead on distinguishing the mystery at our radio bursts. Before the identification of FRB 121102 cycle, it was already widely known for its activity. FRB 121102 was the most active fast radio burst discovered yet, consequently leading to the first localization of a radio burst. This research was led by astronomer Kaustubh Rajvade of the University of Manchester and his team. The justification of periodicity is becoming immense, with the benefit of multiple conclusive examinations regarding various radio bursts. The identification of its periodicity is wavering in the light of new data surfacing. A team at the Max Planck Institute for Radio Astronomy, led by Marilyn Crusoe, used the Effelsberg 100-meter radio telescope to analyze FRB 121102. The team discovered 36 bursts flaring from it. With this new data in partnership with the research conducted by Rajwade and his team, a new number of 161 days is predicted for the following cycle. However, with the use of the 500-meter aperture spherical radio telescope, Pei Wang of the National Astronomy Observatory of China and his team were able to conclude a different periodicity than the result derived from Rajwade and Crusoe's teams. With the data they collected crossed over with the existing data from both teams, they believe 156.1 days is a more accurate duration. If FRB 121102 continues to show activity beyond these dates, this could suggest that either the periodicity isn't real or that it has somehow evolved. None of the data concluded is definite. The vacillating tendencies of FRB 121102 will lead most of us to have a fixation on it, leaving us only to contemplate what will happen next. Formation of gravitational waves. Back in 2014, the LIGO Institute made the groundbreaking discovery that helped to prove the existence of gravitational waves within our universe and the very nature of the warping of the spacetime continuum by observing one of the strangest natural formations in the universe. Ever since this incredible discovery, many different organizations have been racing to cement their name amongst those to be credited for helping to establish this fact of the universe. Interestingly enough, it appears that in 2017, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration made their way into cementing the space agency on the matter when they announced the discovery of a natural light effect observed by the agency when two merging neutron stars that created powerful gravitational waves in all directions fell into each other to form a pulse of high-energy light emission. This event occurred on the 17th of August back in 2017, when NASA used the Fermi Gamma Ray Space Telescope to measure these changes, as well as witnessing one of the rarest astronomical events in the universe that only helped to add more evidence to the natural gravitational wave phenomenon measured by the LIGO Institute, whilst also helping us to get a more accurate measurement of the gravitational wave's effect on the movement of light. This could very well help to pave way for the use of such warping technologies to help create many different methods of faster-than-light travel, while also changing our current understanding of the physics of our universe. Until another sighting can be made to help confirm the two previous studies. These two sightings remain to be the only proven incidents of naturally formed gravitational waves and the warping of spacetime generated from such rarely seen astronomical events. Russia's Kamchatka Peninsula, a spectacular piece of land called the Kamchatka Peninsula, stretches across 780 miles of the far east side of Russia and is surrounded by both the Pacific Ocean and the Sea of Okhotsk. Its unique geography makes it susceptible to harsh winds and increased precipitation, so its 300,000 human inhabitants are used to stormy weather. The animals on the Kamchatka Peninsula, though, have had a harder time adapting to the climate in the less developed parts of the plateau. How did 5 fully sized bears and a variety of other healthy animals turn up dead in one remote location of the Kamchatka Peninsula? The peninsula is infamous for housing nearly 160 volcanoes, 29 of which have proved to be active. Because volcanic research is so dangerous, it takes persistent, daring, and curious explorers to take the plunge into this undiscovered territory. However, 2 volcanic researchers by the names of Vladimir Leonov and Viktor Dryagin decided that they would be the first to walk along uncharted territory within these volcanic mountain ranges. At first, the task didn't seem too daunting. Loads of tourists and researchers alike have traveled deep into the Kamchatka Peninsula to see bears fishing off from streams, watch the hot geysers explode with mist, or simply gawk at the beauty of the lush green landscape. So far, nothing sinister had ever happened to anyone exploring the peninsula until 1975. Leonov and Derigan dared to venture beyond the beaten path and into a more remote expanse. They stumbled upon a stretch of land which they reported to be covered in purple, orange, and white hues. Because these colors are not usually seen in nature, they grew suspicious about the likelihood that a volcanic eruption or gas leak caused this spectacular color arrangement. The researchers' suspicions were confirmed when they noticed dead animals scattered across the ground floor, some in deep holes as if lying in the grave. This grisly scene prompted the researchers to call for backup as they feared that there was something deadly in the air. Fellow research crews take samples from the dead animals to perform remote autopsies where they discovered that the animals had died from suffocation. Questions swarmed. How can an animal die from suffocation when they are simply walking through open air? The answer was what the animals were walking through was not hot air at all, but a deadly gas built up from the volcanoes around them that caused them to die from the inside out. They suffocated on their own blood, as it was discovered that all the blood from the animals' hearts was found within their lungs instead. Devastated by the extermination of these wild animals, Leonov named this part of the peninsula the Valley of Death. This name has deterred other visitors from visiting the region as they don't want to that has caused so much devastation. Though the capabilities of volcanoes are still largely unexplained by science, it is likely that the Valley of Death is so deadly because of the increased concentration of CO2 in the air. Of course, animals still venture through the area not knowing its dangerous climatic features. However, rangers are quick to spot dead animals and relocate them to avoid luring predators and scavengers into this area, only for them to meet their deadly fate as well. Leonov dedicated his volcanic research legacy to this area. He wants to inspire and motivate fellow researchers to keep exploring and researching it as he believes it will bring great knowledge about volcanic features and the effects of volcanic gases over time. But what do you make of these recent findings? Scientific discoveries have driven the world forward for hundreds upon thousands of years, and ever since humans began to probe the limitless expanse of space, discovery has led our understanding of this final frontier. From the search for an elusive ninth planet to the explosive creation of one galaxy from three, it seems that there is no end to the power of science. So today, we will be looking at three incredible space discoveries, what they mean for those of us here on Earth. The trans-Neptunian body called 2021 XD7. Almost everyone is familiar with the 7 other planets that orbit the Sun alongside Earth in our solar system, each accompanied by their many moons. However, there are also hundreds of other bodies which are not large enough to be considered planets that circle around the Sun on the outskirts of the Milky Way. These objects, which include Pluto after its role as the 9th planet was revoked, are known as trans-Neptunian objects or TNOs. They are defined as any minor planet-like body that orbits the Sun at a distance farther than Neptune. Scientists studying the vast expanse of these bodies hypothesize that lying amongst this are over 800 trans-Neptunian objects is likely a body large enough to be classified as the elusive Planet 9. And recently, scientists were able to unearth a clue that could point astronomers in the right direction in their search for this 9th planet. 2021 XD7 is a trans-Neptunian object that was discovered in December of 2021 by Richard Boyle, who observed its path using the Vatican Advanced Technology Telescope. This new TNO, which is over 30 times farther away from the Sun than Earth, is notable for the strange, irregular path that it takes around the Sun, a commute that takes an astonishing 286 years to complete. Although it is smaller than Pluto, it also displays a strange, tilted orbit that is notably different from the more regular orbits of Earth and its neighbors. It is this orbit that is so interesting to researchers, as many believe that understanding the cause of irregular orbits could be a major clue to the location of Planet 9. So why are scientists so sure that there is a 9th planet hidden in the dark region beyond Neptune? Based on calculations and observations of TNOs in somewhat irregular orbits, researchers speculate that there must be a hidden, as yet undiscovered planet whose gravitational pull is disrupting the paths of these bodies, causing their odd orbits and explaining the strange clusters that many of them form as they rotate around the Sun. would be located far beyond the icy Kuiper belt that circles beyond Neptune, but its location has proven very difficult to pinpoint. Researchers have attempted to triangulate its position by observing the irregularities noted in the orbits of trans-Neptunian objects such as 2021 XD7, but progress has been slow. Despite their proliferation, not much is currently known about TNOs, although many believe that the study of these mysterious bodies on the outskirts of our solar system could tell us a lot about where they came from and where the elusive ninth planet might be. Others are not convinced of Planet 9's existence at all and have proposed that the strange forces that have been observed are not due to the gravitational exertion of one body, but rather the collected gravity of the thick disk of icy debris that swirls on the outskirts of our solar system. Discoveries of trans-Neptunian bodies like 2021 XD7 often come about as a result of the Dark Energy Survey, a 6-year survey seeking to map the outer solar system in order to develop a greater understanding about how the distant region operates, as the bodies housed beyond the Kuiper belt behave much differently than the large planets immediately surrounding Earth. Hubble telescope captures violent merger of 3 galaxies. Because of the infinite vastness of space, things colliding with each other is not an altogether common experience. But when things do strike, it usually results in a massive, high-energy, attraction-fueled cosmic fireworks show of sorts. Recently, NASA's Hubble Space Telescope was able to capture amazing images of the imminent and located within the Lynx constellation 763 million light-years away from Earth. The 3 galaxies have been in a complicated gravitational battle for many years, as the strongest of the 3 siphons off energy from the other 2 and draws them together in a spiraling path bound for collision. They are named as one partially because they will eventually become one and are connected by their powerful gravitational connection, which can be seen in the dusty band of debris, cosmic gas, and even stars that connect the 3 galaxies, as the largest pulls this material in towards its center. But what will it look like when they inevitably crash into each other for good? Instead of smashing and scattering into pieces as one might expect from such a powerful conflict, the cosmic collision will only strengthen the individual galaxies as they join together to form one large, unified galaxy. This new transformation will result in the abrupt creation of a vast sea of material waste from the violent merger, which will collect into new stars that will join the old ones that survived the impact and resulting condensation. What is even more amazing about these images is the fact that they provided astronomers with front row seats to a glimpse into what is likely going to be in our own very, very distant future, as scientists with the European Space Agency have predicted that in about 4.5 billion years, the Milky Way will merge with the Andromeda Galaxy in what will likely be a very similar collision to the one that was captured by the Hubble Space Telescope. These mergers are massive examples of the raw power contained within the bounds of the universe. They are not rare or isolated occurrences and are in fact the generating force behind all large galaxies, even the Milky Way. Observing firsthand these jaw-dropping changes that are constantly occurring within the cosmos all around us is one of the best ways that researchers have come to understand how our universe came to be and what it might evolve into in the future. Luckily, we have several billion years between now and our own eventual galactic merger, but being able to watch as 3 galaxies undergo such massive transformations is still a jaw-dropping experience that can provide valuable information about the amazing space that surrounds us. NASA's Hubble captures the clearest view of the dark side of a hot Jupiter exoplanet. Those of us stuck here on Earth are familiar with the fact that our planet completes a full rotation on its axis so that the entire surface is illuminated by the sun once every 24 hours. This is not the case for all celestial bodies within the solar system, though. One such planet is the enormous gas giant named WASP 121b, which is located 850 light-years from Earth and is tidally locked with the same side always facing its star. This exoplanet offers an incredibly interesting case study for astronomers for many reasons. For starters, it is almost double the size of the Milky Way's resident gas giant Jupiter and orbits its star once every 30 hours, which is easily one of the fastest orbits yet discovered. Any closer and the gravitational pull from the star would disintegrate the planet. Researchers have long been interested in the remarkably frigid dark side of the planet, which exists in stark contrast to the blazing side that faces the star with temperatures well over 2000 degrees Celsius. in studying the distinct atmospheric changes that occur between the two drastically different hemispheres and how this dichotomy affects the atmosphere. However, previously there was no image clear enough to study this dark side until recently, when an international team of researchers was able to view the mysterious hidden side through new images taken by NASA's Hubble Space Telescope, and what they found was incredibly surprising. On the dark side of WASP 121b, the planet's surface is clouded with whispering metal clouds and liquid rain, both of which are instantly vaporized as they cross to the warmer hemisphere. They were able to carefully observe and map the incredible fluctuations in temperature between the two locations, as well as how water was able to circulate between the two through the atmosphere despite the drastic temperature differences. We are familiar with a version of this process on Earth, as water rotates through the water cycle and changes from a solid to a liquid to a gas and back again. But this process is drastically more intense on WASP 121b due to temperatures in excess of 3000 Kelvin. On the sun-facing side, water particles are blasted apart by the intense heat, where they are then blown to the cooler side to reform into liquid before being blown back to the beginning of the process, which is fueled by incredibly powerful winds stirring up the planet's surface at speeds of over 17,000 kilometers per hour. This study provided valuable information to scientists studying the atmospheric cycles in planets beyond our own, which can help to generate a more complete understanding of how the universe functions. While it is much easier to study planets who rotate around an axis as they orbit their suns, catching glimpses of tidally locked planets such as WASP 121b gives an incredible sneak peek into parts of the universe that are not so easily viewed. What do you make of these interesting discoveries? Space is a marvel. Countless things are hidden within the great unknown. So much to discover, to learn, to find. As humans, we are so determined to find all there possibly is to find. Knowledge has always been the moving factor that has kept us going throughout the centuries. So today we'll be taking a look at 3 extraordinary cosmic discoveries. Astronomers discover massive radio galaxy 100 times larger than the Milky Way. Space is massive. Recently, astronomers uncovered a radio galaxy so colossal it overshadows our own Milky Way by a shocking 100 times in size. Alcinous is the name given to the galaxy in question. It lies an estimated 3 billion light-years away from Earth. The galaxy has gained its name from the Greek figure Alcinous, was the son of the Hellenic primordial sky god Uranus. The Leiden University of the Netherlands claims that the discovery was a stroke of luck, as numerous discoveries tend to be. More often than not, the greatest discoveries are made when we are not even searching for them. Alcinous is what is referred to as a radio galaxy. This means that there exists a huge black hole within the very center of it that emits 2 rays of pure radio wave energy out of its core, known within scientific circles as an active galactic nucleus. This active galactic nucleus is formed when the black hole consumes matter around it. With the usage of the European Wide Web of Low-Frequency Array telescopes, known more commonly as LOFAR, scientists were able to discover 2 immense rays of pure plasma erupting from what appeared to them to be a typical supermassive black hole. It was not until they researched further that they found that these streams of radio energy were up to 16 million light-years in length, if not longer. In comparative terms, this is the equivalent of 100 Milky Ways put together. But even that is lesser than the true extent of these plasma jets. The official scientific statement calls it one of the largest galactic structures found in the cosmos so far. One of the materials which erupted from these plasma streams are materials used in the formation of new stars. Because of its intense speed that nearly challenges the speed of light, the star-building chemical is under immense heat pressure which causes it to dissolve into plasma, which is what we see with radiolight. This plasma radiates a glare that is visible to the low-file detectors. The reasoning behind why astronomers were not able to detect this galaxy until now is because the plasma jets are difficult to see. As they say, it was a lucky discovery. This, of course, not the only radio jet ever discovered. It is certainly one of the largest, but others have been found in the past, even in our very own galaxy. The true mystery lies in how Alcinous grew into its size and structure. The first theory was that it was a result of the supermassive black hole or an extreme concentration of stardust in the galaxy. Even the plasma jets themselves could have increased the size of the galaxy, and yet in its fellow radio galaxies, these factors are common and do not add to their sizes. Alcyonius is an utterly interesting discovery to have been made, as it could very well reshape our fundamental understanding of the cosmos in which we thrive. It might also help us understand the theory of the cosmic web, wherein galaxies are interconnected yet separated by gaps of nothingness. Scientists are planning on focusing further research into Alcyonius and to try and track down the origin of its incredible size and how it was formed. Asteroid named Electra is found to have 3 companion moons. 200 years ago, astronomers discovered an asteroid in the vast night skies. Now, in the 21st century, we have finally identified and analyzed it. And what we found is extraordinary. Electra, known formally as 130 Electra, is not just a mere lone asteroid. On the contrary, the asteroid is accompanied by 3 tiny moons of its own constantly traveling with the asteroid. These natural satellite moons are unlike anything we have ever witnessed before. In the words of Anthony Bordeaux of Thailand's National Astronomical Research Institute, Electra is the first quadruple system ever detected. This new detection shows that dedicated data reduction and processing algorithms modeling the physics of the instruments can push their contrast limits further. Never before has an asteroid been found with so many companion moons, which poses the question of how many such asteroid systems exist out there in the vastness of the universe. Bordeaux also stated, "It will provide crucial information about planetary formation and evolution of our own solar system. It is not completely out of the realm of possibility for asteroids to have 1, maybe 2 small companion satellites, but spotting them is extremely rare, precisely due to their stature. Only 150 out of 1,100,000 asteroids identified possess a recognized moon. Electra is 160 miles across and was uncovered in 1873 traveling across Mars and Jupiter. It took 130 years to find its first moon in 2003 and dubbed S-2003. As the name suggests, was found in 2014. The smaller the moon, the fainter its presence can be detected. S-2014 was more than 15,000 times dimmer than Electra, hence why it took so long to find it, as well as the recently found third moon, which has not yet been accurately nor properly measured. With the usage of the Sphere instrument, Bordeaux's researchers utilized the European Southern, running it through data reduction programs. Because of this, they were able to remove cosmic background noise from the data. The data algorithms were able to assist the researchers in increasing the glow of the moons, which is how they managed to find Electra's third moon. What we lack, however, is information as to how these systems were created. Cleopatra is an asteroid discovered a while back that we believe to be formed from be it a planet's moon or even perhaps a destroyed planet. At this current moment in time, it is unknown whether such things are common or not. Earth's magnetic field almost disappeared 565 million years ago. Earth's magnetic field is crucial for our continual survival. It serves us well and, through the eons, has protected us from solar and interstellar harm. Therefore, it might be frightful to know that at one point in history this vital shield from the wild, unknown of space almost faded away. Earth would be exposed to solar winds, plasma streams that flow across our solar system from the sun and space radiation. It is believed that when it nearly disappeared over 565 million years ago, it was salvaged due to a geological miracle where the Earth's core started to solidify while strengthening the decreasing field. By investigating geological crystals, some of which are smaller than grains of sand, researchers were able to successfully analyze our planet's core at that era. Plagioclase and clinoproxene are 2 minerals that were conveniently created 565 million years ago and are most widely found in Quebec, Canada. With samples of these minerals, ranging from 50 to 100 nanometers in size, scientists discovered that when they are placed into the molten rock, they face the direction of the magnetic no matter if they are shaken or moved. Like a compass, they always face the magnetic direction. In the words of John Tardano, who works as a professor at the University of Rochester in New York, Those tiny magnetic particles are ideal magnetic recorders. When they cool, they lock in a record of Earth's magnetic field that's maintained for billions of years. By analyzing these minerals inside of the magnetometer, scientists understood that these crystals had been incredibly low charge, suggesting that 565 million years ago, the planet's magnetic field was significantly weaker than it is now. Up to 10 times weaker, in fact, the lowest ever documented. According to Tardano, all this evidence points to the field being extremely unusual. We were at this critical point where the dynamo almost collapsed completely. The dynamo mentioned refers to the geodynamic dynamo, which is the function that maintains our magnetic field and keeps it from disappearing. Without the dynamo, the field would not exist. The Earth's core used to be entirely liquid. However, at some unknown point in history, anywhere from 2.5 to 500 million years ago, the core solidified in the core's center, meaning that various materials like magnesium, oxygen, and silicon were forcibly pushed out into the outer edges of the core, starting a process known as convection. Convection keeps particles charged and moving, which in turn causes an electric current and in turn strengthening the magnetic field by energizing it, the convection that is still supporting the field to this day and will do for billions of years in the future. According to Peter Driscoll, a planetary scientist from Washington, D.C., stated the inner core may have occurred right in the nick of time to recharge the geodynamic and save Earth's magnetic shield. This era was followed by the Cambrian explosion that caused animals to spread across the world and evolve into far more intricate beings. Tardano claims one can speculate, and there have been some speculations, that a weaker magnetic field may have some relationship to these evolutionary events. The theory follows that as a result of the weakening magnetic field, the radiation from space was able to flow into the atmosphere, which in turn might have increased chances of mutating animals and species, but also being their catalyst for further evolution. This is an unproven claim. A theory is merely a theory until enough evidence shines through, but it is certainly an interesting outcome. What do you make of these recent discoveries? Science is such a broad term, covering the smallest cells and structures inside of us to the big questions out there in the universe. With so many researchers tackling so many projects, the scientific community continues to make brilliant advancements each day. So today, we will be looking at 3 recent discoveries. New form of DNA discovered inside living human cells. Investigating precisely what goes into making us human. Making us largely the same but with such vast differences is a complex, ongoing research battle. Understanding how DNA works is an incredibly advanced feat to try and accomplish. This complex matter is the underlying code to making us human, tying us to our ancestors and making us who we are. Scientists have been studying DNA for decades, over a century even, and we have even grown to know it in its distinctive double helix form, where 2 strands are twisted around one another. This is how it appears in living cells and how you were taught about DNA in school, though this is not the only way for DNA to present itself. Away from the human body, tucked away in labs and test tubes, scientists have observed other not to the characteristic double helix, but instead forming stranger, more interesting and unique shapes. These more intriguing shapes and DNA structures are confined to the labs, or so we thought. In 2021, a research team led by Imperial College London observed a 4-stranded DNA shape named the G quadruplex, forming independently from our external interference within human cells. The team has created probes designed to look at how the G quadruplexes interact with the other molecules within these living cells. While we cannot be certain, it has been speculated that G quadruplexes have some sort of role in cancer development, as more of these G quadruplexes are found in smaller areas in the cancer cells. Since there is some sort of correlation between the concentration of G quadruplexes and the presence of cancer, some have suggested a tie between the two. The aim of the probes set out by the Imperial College London team is that they will show us how G quadruplexes can be dismantled by particular proteins. Between this and the possibility of helping us to discover what other molecules can bind to these unusual DNA forms, we may be able to develop drugs to target these specific DNA strands, interfering with their activities. If this is successful, then these probes have a huge potential to have a profound impact upon cancer treatments. Ben Lewis from the Department of Chemistry at Imperial College London and one of the study's lead authors explained that there are different DNA shapes, all of which have a significant variation in their impact upon the processes that involve the DNA. This can include reading, copying, or expressing genetic information. He continued, adding that there is an increasing amount of evidence suggesting that the G quadruplexes have a key role in several processes crucial to maintaining life. The missing piece of the jigsaw in understanding a number of diseases and illnesses has been being able to place this out of the ordinary DNA structure into living cells. We have found instances where this structure is present in cells. These G quadruplexes are still rare to be seen inside living cells, so the techniques, methods, and equipment that we use to detect these is not the most accurate or advanced by any means. Instead of being tailored and designed, look for these very specific molecules. The equipment is far more standard than that, detecting molecules, though not these exact ones. Lewis said that this was like finding a needle in a haystack, but the needle is also made of hay. Further research associated with the Medical Research Council's London Institute of Medical Sciences has taken this research another step further, using a chemical probe named Doubter M2, which will light up when the G quadruplex is present, regardless as to the quantity or concentration. The team were then able to time how long the bright fluorescence lasts. This gives us a more sophisticated angle to this research, eliminating some of the more unreliable techniques that have been used to conduct similar research in the past. The next step was to introduce them to helicase proteins. These are molecules that would unwind these confusing DNA structures, letting us look right into the live cells directly. The team also looked into how molecules and the G quadruplexes interact, seeing how and which molecules bind themselves to these DNA structures. When we have this sort of understanding, researchers can then investigate the nucleus of these living cells and gain a better understanding of these phenomena that we would not be able to observe otherwise. The biggest hope to come from this research is an understanding in how to develop drugs to tackle these specific DNA structures, helping to fight awful diseases like cancer. Closest black hole system to Earth contains no black holes. Sometimes when we make a scientific discovery, we need to undiscover something we thought we knew. Disproving the existing research, theories, and hypotheses is what allows us to make advancements and develop our understanding of the universe. In 2020, a team of astronomers from the European Southern Observatory said they had found a black hole reported as the closest to Earth, in the HR 6819 system only 1,000 light-years away. This was not a claim that was generally agreed upon, with an international team based in Belgium contesting the results. A paper published in March 2022 says that in this black hole system, there is no black hole. So, if there is no black hole in HR 6819, what have we spotted? Belgian team has suggested that this is what is known as a vampire two-star system, which is in a rare part of its life cycle, making it less easily identifiable. The original study welcomed this criticism. After all, science is about making discoveries and advancing knowledge, not accepting everything as the truth. Thomas Ravinius, a Chile-based astronomer and the lead author on the initial paper, said not only is it normal, but it should be that results are scrutinized. Given the data the team had available, the original conclusion did seem perfectly viable. They believed HR 6819 was a triple system, meaning one star orbited a black hole over a 40-day period, and a second star orbited the same black hole over a much greater period of time. The Belgian study, however, led by Julia Bodensteiner, suggested that there are two stars in the system, both on a 40-day orbit, though there was no black hole. This means that earlier in the timeline, one of these stars would have to have been much bigger, but over time lost some of its size and mass to the smallest star. The teams concluded that gathering new data, making the most of different equipment, would reveal which hypothesis was more accurate. The Very Large Telescope and Very Large Telescope Interferometer were used to help gather more definitive data. The newly combined teams confirmed that there was not a brighter star in a wider orbit, and the fresh data helped to determine that HR 6819 is in fact a binary system with no black hole. This team is continuing observations, working on a joint study over time to figure out the evolution and limits. Who knows where the actual closest black hole to Earth is? NASA is working on a nano starship. When we think of space exploration, we often think of huge rockets launching, gigantic satellites orbiting, or hefty rovers landing. What if we told you the latest development of space exploration, the next space technology, is just the size of a postage stamp? In 2016, a team of scientists, including the late Stephen Hawking, first shared the news of this tiny spacecraft set to explore Alpha Centauri, the nearest star system to us here on Earth. This small ship, destined for interstellar space, has been dubbed Starship. In theory, if we make this ship travel at 20% the speed of light, then it will arrive at the star system in just 20 years. Though, as we know, the conditions in space are not exactly friendly, and there is a very real chance that this small little craft would not survive the journey. We are talking 20 years worth of exposure, most notably, according to NASA and the Korea Institute of Science and Technology, radiation. Researchers have discussed the possibility of rerouting the craft to avoid the areas with the most high-energy radiation. Otherwise, the silicon dioxide layer of this little craft would be severely damaged, and it would not make it to Alpha Centauri functional. However, if the craft takes a less straightforward path, it could add so much time onto the journey that even small levels of radiation would be damaging. Another solution could be to add aspects to the nanocraft that could protect from the radiation, but the additional weight would slow down the star chip. A new hypothetical solution has been pitched, designed to allow the ship to heal and repair itself along the journey. So far, this could include an experimental gate-all-round nanowire transistor. There are still plenty of aspects that need to be considered to this project, though it seems as though one by one, we can come up with solutions and ideas that will not compromise the speed or safety of Starship. But what do you make of these space discoveries? It can be hard to picture what is out there beyond what we know. But beyond our cloudy blue skies and rolling oceans lies the whole universe, planets and galaxies with unusual activity around them, with mysterious rays flying by, and surely some other life forms living lives just as fulfilled as our own. So today we will be taking a look at 3 recent space discoveries. Dozen ultra-high-energy particle accelerators discovered in the Milky Way. As we move further and further into the 21st century, once modern and cutting-edge questions have become 100-year-old puzzles we are yet to unravel. So it goes without saying how exciting it is when we manage to inch our way closer to some sort of scientific revelation. In 1912, we uncovered cosmic rays. We know that they come from nearly every direction galaxy, the Milky Way. Cosmic rays are charged particles with atomic nuclei that can reach speeds approaching the speed of light as they move through space. While we have uncovered a fair bit about these mysterious rays, we are yet to find out how we get to these sky-high speeds in the first place. Some scientists have suggested that cosmic rays begin their space travels as they are astrophysicist Siming Liu, who works at the Southwest Shandong University in Chengdu, explained that when this occurs, the sheer amount of energy these stars release in just 2 months matches that which has been released throughout the entire lifespan of the star before that point. Liu continued, explaining that this has been a somewhat dominant theory, but does not account for all cosmic rays that have a greater amount of energy and what can be provided in an explosion of this kind. Complicating this mystery further is the interaction of these charged cosmic rays with magnetic fields. Magnetic fields, which are plenty common within our galaxy, deflect the rays as they approach. Unfortunately for our researchers, this means that a cosmic ray as seen on Earth cannot be traced backwards to the origin of the ray. That can give scientists a helping hand, however, is the gamma rays produced as cosmic rays enter the gases around them. Gamma rays are not charged, meaning they are not disrupted by magnetic fields and can be traced backwards in a straight line to where they began. This gives Liu and his colleagues an opportunity to trace back potential sources of cosmic rays. The team used China's Large High-Altitude Air Shower Observatory to study the cosmic rays indirectly via their gamma-ray light. Following a series of observations, the team located 12 potential sources named pevitrons over our galaxy. Each one of these alone is at least 100 times more powerful than the largest particle accelerator we have on Earth. With the equipment available, we are not at a point where we can begin to locate the Pevitron natural particle accelerators thousands of light years away. So it is not conclusive where or what the precise cause is exactly. Nonetheless, this is groundbreaking research that will continue to bring us closer, one step at a time, to answering a question that has been on many a mind for over a century. Dr. Gordon Gallup says alien life may be too scared of dangerous humans. The idea that we are not alone in the universe has paved the way for some of the best science fiction films and fueled many conspiracy theories. The odds are that there must be life out there, perhaps more advanced than us. So if that is the case, why haven't these aliens reached out? Dr. Gordon Gallup, a biopsychologist, has suggested that the existence of alien life is not implausible, but that the reason we have not heard from the alternate life forms out there is that they could be afraid of us, the dangerous and violent humans. Dr. Gordon Gallup, who works at the University of Albany, presents the view that the awful acts us humans take out against one another, not to mention our planet, might be keeping aliens at bay. If they can see what we are like as a species, why would they want to reveal their presence? Gallup calls us humans, quote, violent and dangerous, citing our many and constant conflicts as a reason to be too afraid to let us discover them. He says, if there is intelligent life elsewhere, they may view humans as extremely dangerous. We pose too great a risk and they do not want to be discovered. The point Gallup makes was published in the Journal of Astrobiology, and he is not sugarcoating our awful impact on the world. He was clear that the impact of the planet and our own societies are far too destructive to appeal to extraterrestrial guests. His argument is that if there is intelligent life out there, they certainly are not likely to visit Earth. Gallup's idea that we are scaring aliens away is a new twist in the warnings we have been given before. Scientists, most notably the late great astrophysicist Stephen Hawking, famously had concerns should we ever interact with aliens. He agreed it was likely there was intelligent alien life out there, describing people who claimed we were the only intelligent life form as arrogant. He thought it was us who had a cause for concern, not them. He likened the arrival of aliens on Earth to the arrival of Christopher Columbus first making it to America, which as we know had a truly tragic impact upon the indigenous populations already in America. He believes any intelligent life that is far more evolved than us would have little concern in taking over our lands and home for their own gain, quite the opposite view to Gallup. Whether you believe it is us for whom an alien encounter would end badly or for the aliens themselves, both scientists seem to agree that we should not go looking for any alien buddies anytime soon. Swirling winds on Saturn trigger never-before-seen auroras. Often when we are looking for something new in space, we think we need to look further and build equipment that will let us spy on worlds light years upon light years away from us. Though that is not always the case. A 2022 study has observed a new phenomenon right here in our very own solar system. It is the ringed planet itself, Saturn, that is the focus of this discovery, with some colorful shows taking place that we are yet to see elsewhere. Saturn has been seen to have some auroras prompting stunning arrays of color on the planet. Scientists have speculated that they may be the result of wind within the atmosphere of the planet, though the mechanics behind what is really happening remains unknown. Auroras are typically pushed into action from energized particles moving from the magnetosphere of a planet into the atmosphere. Whereas for us here on Earth, auroras are pushed by the charged particles from the Sun for Jupiter and Saturn. The charged particles are not from the Sun but rather volcanic eruptions on their respective moons. This was outlined in a statement from the W.M. Keck Observatory. This means we have a whole new type of aurora we are observing on Saturn that we will not see here on Earth, as it is the planet's own atmospheric winds propelling the display. The co-author of the study and an associate professor in planetary astronomy at the University of Leicester explained the search for different types of auroras takes us back to some of our very first theories about those on Earth. They spoke of the etymology of the name aurora, that here on Earth, where they are essentially powered from the sun, their name, aurora borealis, originates from the dawn of the northern wind. So, having found that on Saturn it is the winds and the atmosphere that drive the aurora, we have truly discovered an aurora borealis as the name describes the phenomenon. The team used the W.M. Keck Observatory, based in Mauna Kea, Hawaii, to observe the winds moving through the upper atmosphere of Saturn. They used the near-infrared spectrograph to measure emissions from this part of the atmosphere. This data was then further applied to allowing the team to map out the weather currents of the planet. The results seem to suggest that the weather system on Saturn is the result of the thermosphere, with winds in the ionosphere, the layer of the atmosphere with a high concentration of ions and free electrons. It is this combination of currents, winds, and layers within the atmosphere that comes together to form these distinctive bright auroras. The statement has also suggested that these winds could be the reason Saturn has a rather varied and unpredictable rate of rotation. This has long eluded scientists, simply complicating the process of determining how long days last on Saturn. As we uncover more about the winds of this planet, we hope to unravel more and more information, from the length of each day to what is causing the auroras to occur. It is no surprise that there are endless things for us to discover in space. There are countless areas of study and limitless opportunities to explore. This is just the beginning of our search into space. What do you make of these interesting discoveries? Physics has a reputation as a difficult and complex field of study. It is undeniably a rich, intricate subject. Physics aims to answer our questions, from the biggest questions about how the universe began and the rules we try to unravel, to the smallest subatomic particles, their composition, their behavior, and what they can do. Without physics, we would be without a huge range of knowledge, and the study spans so many areas, from up and out in space to the fundamental rules that stretch across the universe. So today, we will be taking a look at 3 recent discoveries made in the field of physics. The Large Hadron Collider discovered mysterious X-particles. We have some fantastic equipment available to us that can help us explore and answer questions about the universe. One particularly impressive one is the Large Hadron Collider located at CERN, the European Organization for Nuclear Research. This is the world's largest particle accelerator, which, for those of us who do not know all too much about physics, means this is a machine that lets charged particles move at incredibly high speeds. This is done by using electromagnetic fields. Being able to make particles move at such high speeds and high energies is very valuable in physics research, letting us learn more about how atoms and molecules work, and, perhaps most importantly, they can help us to understand the laws of physics. This incredible particle accelerator, the Large Hadron Collider, has spotted some particularly interesting X-particles, which may have existed in the very, very early universe. Among trillions of particles within the accelerator, researchers spotted approximately 100 X-particles. They have their intriguing name X, as we are yet to know of their structures. What makes these particles so interesting is that there is a significant possibility that the X-particles existed in the first few fractions of a second following the Big Bang. They have an incredibly short lifespan and do not hang around long, though their presence could give us some more info on the origins of the universe. The X-particles in question were seen in a wave of elementary particles known as a quark-gluon plasma. This was formed inside the Large Hadron Collider as a consequence of colliding lead ions against one another. Lead author of the study and member of CERN's CMS collaboration and an experimental particle Yenji Li described this discovery as just the start of the story. He went on to elaborate that being able to prove that a signal is present is a huge leap in the right direction. The next step will take place over several years and involves the team investigating the internal structure of the X-particle using the quark-gluon plasma. This has the potential to tell us what sorts of materials the universe can and should produce. When researchers have investigated the origins of X-particles, they have found that they trace back to just after the Big Bang within less than the first second. This means that they were around when the universe was at an overwhelmingly high temperature, trillions of degrees, and was filled with quarks and gluons. These are elementary particles which, once they cooled, became the protons and neutrons we learn about today at school, which are significantly more stable. It appears before the temperatures dropped, giving us protons and neutrons instead of quarks and gluons. There was a short period where a few of the gluons and quarks collided, forming very few, very temporary X-particles. We still do not know exactly how the elementary particles formed the X-particle structure, but if we are able to somehow find an answer to this, then we will have a far better understanding of these particles that made up the early universe. Tiny particles wobble could upend the known laws of physics. When we are trying to figure out something as big as how the universe works, it only takes a tiny inaccuracy to throw off everything that we thought we knew. Research from the spring of 2021 seems to have seen just that beginning to happen. A growing pile of evidence seems to be suggesting that a tiny subatomic particle is not behaving the way we would expect it to according to the physics. If it is indeed true that something is amiss here, then we have a huge gap in our knowledge of the universe. The odd finding could suggest that there are undiscovered forms of matter and energy that are key components to the way the cosmos has developed and evolved that our scientific community is yet to stumble across. By pursuing this new work, the discoveries we could make have the potential to be revolutionary. The discovery of the Higgs boson particle, the discovery of which earned a Nobel Prize in Physics. Dr. Chris Pauly, a physicist working at the Fermi National Accelerated Laboratory, also known as Fermilab, described this as our Mars rover landing moment. The weight of this soon-to-be achievement is incredible, with some physicists working towards this moment their entire careers. The particle in question is the muon, sort of like a heavy electron. Dr. Pauly, along with an international team of 200 physicists spanning 7 different countries, uncovered the odd behavior when it was fired through an intense magnetic field at Fermilab. By not following the anticipated behaviors, this challenges our current understanding of physics which operates under the standard model. The particle has been consistent in its unusual behaviors, suggesting that there is a piece of the puzzle missing, and that something is contributing to this unsolved mystery. According to the research team, these measurements have only a 1 in 40,000 chance of being a coincidence, meaning this is statistically significant enough to be considered an official physics discovery. We are often able to find signals, but the data to support this initial discovery is what will make this such a fascinating opportunity. Over the next few years, an estimated 94% more data will be collected on the muon experiment, a little more exactly what was happening. This discovery has the potential to turn years' worth of assumptions about the universe, calculations and theories on their heads as we enter a new era of understanding. Hopefully more revolutionary work is to follow and transform what we thought we knew. Proxima D space exploration is an incredibly exciting prospect. As we develop more technology and learn how best to make use of the science already at our fingertips, we get to explore further into space. Perhaps even better is getting to take a closer look at the places we thought we already knew. Scientists have recently discovered a new planet in the solar system that surrounds the star closest to Earth. Besides the Sun, Proxima Centauri is the closest star to our solar system, just under 4.25 light-years away from Earth. The system is formed of 2 main stars, Alpha Centauri A and Alpha Centauri B, which together form a binary pair, meaning the 2 stars orbit one another and are bound together via gravity. The next part of the system is the third star, Proxima Centauri, also referred to as Alpha Centauri C. What is particularly interesting about Proxima Centauri is not just the close distance to our own solar system, but also that this star is relatively like our Sun. Scientists have a rather recent course for celebration. As a new exoplanet, in other words a planet found outside of our solar system, has been found to be orbiting this star, with the research being published as recently as February 2022. This exoplanet is the 3rd planet that has been found within this system. Back in 2016, Proxima B was discovered and the scientific community was thrilled. The exoplanet was a similar size to Earth and hosted conditions that could be suitable for life, with a temperature where we could possibly find liquid water and a rocky surface. Proxima D is a little different. As opposed to the Earth-sized planet it orbits alongside the newly found Proxima D is one of the lightest exoplanets we have ever discovered, nowhere near comparable to the mass of Earth. The size of this planet is only the start of the differences. The possibly habitable conditions of Proxima B are not present in Proxima D. This newly found exoplanet is far too close to its star for life, similar to humans, to exist upon it. It orbits so closely to Proxima Centauri that the orbital period is only 5 Earth days long, compared to the 365 it takes us to orbit our star, the Sun. The discovery of Proxima D has led to several discoveries within this planetary system. João Faria, lead author of the study and a researcher at the Instituto de Astrofísica y Ciências do Espaço, said that this research shows us that our closest stellar neighbor seems to be packed with space, with interesting new worlds within reach of further study and future exploration. This goes to show that the great discoveries do not have to stretch across the galaxy thousands and millions of light years away, but that sometimes the most interesting revelations can be fairly close to us. And what do you make of these incredible discoveries? Space is unlimited, or so we think. Our very solar system alone is subject to immense speculation and awe, with astronomers trying to discover more about our glorious cosmos. So today we'll be taking a look at 3 incredible discoveries. NASA thinks it's found a frozen lake on Pluto's surface. Pluto is a planet of mystery, and discovering more about it is often difficult, with flybys sent to observe and capture photographs of its extraordinary surface in hopes it will give us more pieces of the puzzle when it comes to unraveling Pluto's past. NASA's New Horizons mission is ongoing, meant to study Pluto and the Kuiper Belt. Currently, the most recent probe sent to analyze Pluto is still processing the information it gathered and sending it back to Earth. Among the various pieces of information regarding the dwarf planet lies the possibility for Pluto to possess frozen lakes formed of liquid nitrogen. Pluto is covered by a sheen of frozen liquid nitrogen, but NASA's scientists have reason to believe that there have been times in history in which the elusive planet's surface temperature was slightly warmer, allowing for the icy sheen to thaw into proper flowing liquid. The current leading theory is that the pressure of the atmosphere of Pluto has changed throughout the ages and, at one point, altered enough for lakes to come into being upon the planet. This theory is further supported by the fact that New Horizons research spotted a pond-like feature upon the surface of the northern side of the planet. Alan Stern, who is the New Horizons project principal investigator, has stated, "Liquids may have existed on the surface of Pluto in the past. We see what looks to a lot of our team as a former lake." NASA scientists claim that certain terrain on the planet appears smoother than most of the planet's rugged landscape, which is more than likely to be, at the very least, the remnant of a liquid nitrogen lake. Alan Stern says it's very smooth, as if a liquid has frozen across one height. It's hard to come up with an alternate model that would explain the morphology. As such, the likeliness of the lake theory only increases the more evidence is gathered. Pluto's current average surface temperature is minus 380 degrees Fahrenheit, as the planet is positioned around 39 times known as astronomical units further from the Sun than our Earth is. This level of freezing cold means that melting frozen liquid nitrogen would have to happen at a very specific time, place, and temperature. NASA claims that because of its 248-year orbit at a tilted angle is within the realm of possibility for this to occur, since the atmospheric pressure of Pluto can alter immensely, up to 20,000 times the pressure it currently is at. As a result, the surface temperature can change within a moment's notice, and should the theory prove correct, create lakes and rivers of pure liquid nitrogen. It is important to note that this does not happen often. The last time scientists believe it occurred was 800,000 years ago, when the planet's surface temperature would have reached 103 degrees. In its current state, Pluto is in the midst of going from one extreme temperature to another, meaning it has a long way to go until the nitrogen lakes might be able to unfreeze again. The first glimpse of lone black hole delights astronomers. The galaxy is full of lone black holes. They are everywhere, except they are difficult to find. Scientists know that they are there, but only recently have they managed to uncover the sighting of a traveling black hole. This black hole is making its lonesome way around our beloved galaxy and will likely help researchers further understand the science behind black holes. Black holes are generally spotted via their interactions with other things, given that they are so massive and intense that light itself is unable to flee from them, rendering them nearly imperceptible, with their effects on the things around them being our only source of knowing they are even present. It is believed that there are countless singular black holes out there, and in the words of an astronomer from the Space Telescope Science Institute, Kailash Sahu, there should be 100 million such black holes in the world. Galaxy, they should be everywhere, but it's very hard to find them. It took NASA years of research just to simply confirm the existence of this one little black hole using several of its vast observatories as well as the famous Hubble Space Telescope. Evidently, this news has shaken the world community of astronomers, such as Selma de Mink, an astrophysicist from Germany who claims, "I think this is a very exciting and important discovery." The world is waiting with bated breath for NASA to reveal more information. Microlensing was the technique employed in finding the black hole. It entails searching for bright stars whose gravitational pull focuses on either the light or bends a particular way. Somewhat like a camera lens or, in this case, a cosmic lens, black holes and other such colossal cosmic entities have the ability to either brighten the appearance of stars or to change how their light bends and is thus perceived. It took a total of 6 years to establish the black hole's presence, much in part due to the Hubble Space Telescope measuring the chosen star's light deflection, which used equations created by Albert Einstein back in 1915. With this, the astronomers found their object to be 7 times larger than that of our Sun with a mass that definitively must be a black hole. There have been various claims made by scientists that they uncovered singular black holes, but none have garnered enough evidence until now. With the usage of ground observatories, scientists were able to detect that this black hole is currently 5,150 light-years away from us, as well as the fact it is traveling at a speed of 45 kilometers per second. This implies that the supernova that started it all must have been intense in its cosmic end, giving the black hole a surplus of energy that fuels it even now. This is a hot subject of debate in the astronomy community, as we know very little about the amount of energy black holes gain when they are created. Perhaps studying this one will help us as a species further understand the nuance of black holes. The team that found this particular black hole has also discovered 3 other potential lone black holes. But if it is so, then we will have far more black holes to research that could be our key to unraveling the truth behind their creation, as well as whether our theories of them being commonplace are valid or false. An astronomer from the University of Arizona, Farrell Ozell, claims, "We should not infer anything from a single data point, but I'm excited." Scientists hope that the microlensing technique will be able to successfully lead them to further black hole discoveries in the future, just as it has done so with this one. New U.S. spy satellite launches on secret mission. Enroll 34 was launched in the late hours of the night in California by the National Reconnaissance Office of the United States of America inside an Atlas V rocket. This elusive satellite is a spy satellite meant to accomplish a secret mission for the NRO. The rocket was unmanned and automated, launched precisely at 9:24 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time from the Vandenberg Air Force Base. The satellite's flight course and mission are currently unknown, but its purpose in space is strictly classified intel according to U.S. officials. Nevertheless, they have publicly stated that NROL-34 is certainly going to be involved in military activity for the country. United Launch Alliance officials have claimed this launch supports the military's national defense mission. Some have speculated that the satellite is a weapon of sorts, something new and classified, while others think it is spyware. Because of the satellite's role in the future of the U.S. military being a secret and 4.5 minutes of its launch, the government issued a media blackout, clouding the truth in shadow, only to be known by a select number of individuals involved with the project with ironclad lips. There were 6 satellites launched by the NRO overall, all at different times and using all of which were unmanned and disposable once the satellite hit Earth's orbit, such as ATLA, Minotaur, and Delta boosters. The ULA launch commentator Don Spencer stated, 6 launches in this time is the most aggressive launch schedule for the NRO in 2 decades. True to his claims, many conspiracists are concerned for what these satellites might mean for the future, be it near or far. Because of the details being concealed from the public, it is difficult to know what these satellites will be doing or indeed if they are even actually used for spying. However, this secrecy only deepens the flow of rumors from the worried crowds. Time might tell what the true goal of NRO's satellite launches are, but currently we're in the dark. But what do you make of these interesting, if not secret, discoveries? Science is one of the enduring elements of humanity, and discoveries are being made every day that push us further and further into the future. Whether it be getting to the bottom of a phenomenon as old as the Earth itself, or uncovering tantalizing mysteries in outer space, nothing seems too daunting for scientists to tackle. So today, we will be diving into 3 interesting new discoveries and what they mean for the scientific field and for humans. Electromagnetic bursts in ground could predict earthquakes. It is possible to generate highly accurate predictions regarding weather by observing atmospheric patterns. One natural disaster from whom prediction remains much more elusive is the earthquake. Although it is generally understood which areas lie along fault lines and are therefore more prone to earthquakes, nailing down exactly when the crust will begin to shift and move has proven to be an altogether more complicated task. However, that might be changing in the very near future as scientists begin to piece together and correlate underground readings with the occurrences of earthquakes. Seismologists, or those who study geophysics and the ways that seismic waves move through the earth, have long been aware of underground electric fields and their tendency to produce small, hardly noticeable anomalies several weeks prior to an earthquake. They have been unable to determine what exactly causes these changes. It has often been proposed that understanding the cause could be a breakthrough in earthquake prediction, and new research has finally provided some potential answers. Recent analysis and study of these occurrences has led scientists to speculate that the electromagnetic bursts could be triggered by gas that is trapped and built up in what is known as a fault valve prior to an earthquake. The rock within Earth's crust at the fault creates an impermeable barrier to underground water, which causes electrified carbon dioxide and methane to break through as the pressure causes cracks in the valve. The research team tested their hypothesis in a customized lab setup with promising results. As research continues, seismologists hope that they will be able to gather some insight about how measuring these electromagnetic bursts could lead to enhancing earthquake prediction measures. Currently, the first defense against earthquakes are the building materials and strategies used to resist the shifting movement of the earth. Flexible steel that is built to bend and tilt with the forces applied during a quake is a common strategy, especially in high-rises built in earthquake-prone areas. Adding metal supports within walls helps to keep structures supported and safely transmit pressure and other forces while building foundation anchors deep into the bedrock has also been shown to increase favorable outcomes during quakes. No building is truly earthquake-proof, and being able to have a heads-up as to when the next seismic plate activity will begin could be a huge step in defending against loss of life and property that unfortunately is rather common after a quake. Fire damage has been shown to be one of the most significant contributors to loss during an earthquake. And knowing when one was coming could allow for authorities to begin to prepare supplies and materials to prevent fires. Additionally, individuals could take shelter much sooner and could choose much safer areas than are typically available when surprised with an earthquake. The ability to use these electromagnetic bursts to hopefully begin to understand when earthquakes happen and what precedes this seismic activity could save an enormous number of lives, as well as prevent the large-scale destruction that is so common in the wake of an earthquake. Much more study is still needed. The current results are very promising and hopeful. Lunar rover discovers mysterious glass spheres. China's U-2-2 rover has been the force behind several recent discoveries regarding the dark side of the moon, and its latest find is especially intriguing. The mission, which was the first successful landing on the far side of the moon, has been to uncover hidden secrets kept by the far side of the moon by looking in depth at panoramic images captured by the rover, which was deposited in the moon's massive von Karman crater. One of these images, which proved especially interesting to researchers after they noticed two small intact spheres made of what appeared to be translucent glass. The knowledge that glass spheres were discovered on the moon might alone be surprising information to some. The fact is that glass is not altogether uncommon on the lunar surface. The ingredients needed to create glass are rather simple. Just silicate and high temperatures, and the moon has had a large amount of both throughout its lifetime. We know that the moon was the site of extensive volcanism in the past, as well as the location of intense heat generated by meteorites and other foreign bodies. Silicate, which is found all over the lunar surface, was subject to this volcanic activity and high temperatures, resulting in the large amount of glass pieces that can be found across the surface. If glass is not rare on the moon, why are these spheres of such interest to the researchers studying U-2's images? The answer lies in what the glass can tell us about the history of the moon and the chemical reactions that have occurred. There is a chance that the volcanic activity that led to the other glass remnants also created these spheres. They do appear to be slightly different from other specimens that have been found. Any spheres that were discovered were almost microscopic and none measured over a millimeter compared to U-2-2 spheres, which measure between 15 and 25 millimeters in diameter. They also range from transparent to semi-transparent with an interesting vitreous luster. But how did these strange orbs end up on the moon? One theory claims that the spheres are impact spheres, which are created even here on Earth when something hits the surface so forcefully that it generates enough heat to melt the crust. The melted pieces are projected into the air by the impact and cool into tiny glass beads. These beads are usually incredibly small, which likely rules impact out as a direct source of U-2-2's glass spheres. The team studying the images and U-2-2's analysis of their composition believe that they are likely created from a type of volcanic glass called anorthosite, which might have remelted due to the heat of an enormous impact and then cooled into the balls that the rover discovered. The team responsible for the research wrote, as the first discovery of macroscopic and translucent glass globules on the moon, this study predicts that such globules should be abundant across the lunar highland, providing promising sampling targets to reveal the early impact history of the moon. As research continues, hopefully we will begin to be able to peel back the layers of the moon's history and discover more about its formation and life through the millennia. This newly discovered galaxy is a space mystery. When it comes to space, there are a great many mysteries and very few things that can be considered certain. However, the newly discovered Alice 73.1 galaxy is one of the most interesting mysteries of them all, as it calls into question everything that scientists thought they knew about how galaxies are formed and created. The galaxy, which researchers have determined is rather young, has characteristics of a much older galaxy. Federico Lelli, lead author of the study analyzing Alice 73.1, described the phenomenon by claiming that the galaxy looks like a grown adult, but it should be just a little child. It contains both a rotating disk and a central bulge, and even has spiral arms that greatly resemble those of much more mature galaxies like our own Milky Way. Additionally, it is generating much larger amounts of energy than it should be, hinting at the possibility of an incredibly powerful supermassive black hole at the center. Structures like bulges, regular rotating disks, and possibly spiral arms must form in less than 1 billion years, which is a tall order for current models of galaxy formation. Lelli said of the results, "Old galaxies notably have tightly packed centers where stars are stacked close together due to the pull of gravity. Previously, it was believed that these bulges likely formed slowly over the course of the galaxy's life as smaller galaxies merged and collisions took place within the system. Alice 73.1 proves that this does not always have to be the case, as its bulge was formed rather quickly. This galaxy is lacking the chaos and unstructured energy that is not only typical but previously considered requisite for a galaxy of its age. These findings have forced researchers to reframe their previous ideas about how long it takes for hallmark elements of galactic formation to appear. To determine whether the strange composition of this galaxy is the exception or the norm for galaxy formation, researchers must now search out other bodies from similar time periods and stages as Alice 73.1, analyzing them for comparable quick-forming features. Because of how long it takes for light to reach Earth in space, something that is billions of light-years away, such as Alice 73.1, can provide an incredibly valuable glimpse through time, allowing us to see the universe as it was in its early days. Studies such as these can challenge our current theories and allow for the generation of new worlds. So it remains to be seen how the discovery of this strange and mysterious new galaxy will ultimately impact our understanding of space and galactic formation. What do you make of these discoveries? Sometimes fascinating discoveries that turn up within our world can be awe-inspiring examples of how far science has already taken us into the future, and sometimes they are just plain mind-boggling. Whether it be a long-missing satellite discovered by an ordinary person, or secrets revealed about black holes by some of the most brilliant scientific minds of the day, the desire to uncover secrets, to learn more about the world around us, is one that lies at the heart of who we are as humans. So today, we will be diving into 3 recent unlikely discoveries that took place in space. Zombie satellite found by amateur radio operator. Satellites are the window into outer space and provide valuable services to those of us here on Earth. In fact, There are thousands of satellites currently working for us that are clustered outside of Earth's atmosphere, as well as many more that are no longer in use. When satellites are retired from active use, they are usually burned up upon atmospheric entry and forgotten about, while others remain in the skies for years after they have fallen out of use. Typically, these satellites remain because they malfunctioned in some way so that they are no longer able to be remotely controlled, and they are usually forgotten about. These wandering satellites are known as zombie satellites, and not all of them are totally malfunctioned, as sometimes once they are rediscovered a connection can be restored. Scott Tilley, an amateur radio operator living in Canada, is among the niche group of people who have made a hobby of hunting these rogue and defunct satellites down, and has even helped NASA reestablish contact with some, including the Image NASA probe that disappeared in 2005. People in these groups are interested in attempting to track down the oldest possible satellites that they can, and although Tilley managed to locate the nuclear-powered U.S. Navy navigation satellite Transit 5B5 that launched in 1965, he had his sights set on something much higher. The LES-5 satellite was created by the Lincoln Laboratory at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology and, having been launched in 1967, could be the oldest functioning satellite remaining in geostationary orbit. That is, if it was still even out there. However, Tilley is no novice at satellite hunting and needing something to do with all the extra time he found himself with after the COVID-19 pandemic broke out and the world locked down. He quickly took on the daunting tasks of poring over papers online until he was able to discover the radio frequency that LES-5 operated on, and began the time-consuming process of building a structure to support the massive antenna that would pick up what he hoped was the correct frequency. And on March 24th, he was finally rewarded for his efforts as he picked up on radio measurements of the LES-5 as it circled the Earth. However, there was a surprise in store for him as he continued to take measurements and studied the elusive ancient satellite. Not only was LES-5 still active in orbit in Earth's atmosphere, but its radio apparently did not shut down as planned in 1972 and is still operating, continually charging with the solar panels attached to it. This means that it is highly possible the satellite could be contacted once again after all these years. Interestingly, despite the apparent excitement that might surround such an interesting discovery, the lab that was responsible for creating the satellite has not issued a comment regarding its sudden reappearance. Many think that this is an indication that LES-5 was used for classified military projects, as the lab was known to have worked on several with the U.S. military. So it seems that this zombie satellite might have a few secrets up its sleeves despite years of radio silence. James Webb Telescope to study icy space objects in the Kuiper Belt. The Kuiper Belt is a mysterious ring of icy objects that circles just outside of Neptune's orbit and often serves as a theoretical border of our known world. Although there are certainly bodies that we have studied extensively beyond this perimeter, all the 8 planets thus far identified and carefully catalogued in the Milky Way are within the borders of the Kuiper Belt, including former planet Pluto and its moon Charon. The belt's distance and the proliferation of icy, foreign bodies presents a challenge to researchers wishing to study its secrets, but that has not stumped many from trying. In fact, researchers working with the James Webb Space Telescope have set their sights on the Kuiper Belt and the trans-Neptunian objects that rotate in and beyond, including Pluto and Charon. Along the way, they hope to also get closer looks at objects known as centaurs, or bodies that used to orbit within the Kuiper Belt but now have been pulled closer to Earth. Many of these centaurs now reside in the region between Jupiter and Neptune, likely including Neptune's moon Triton, and provide much closer and clearer examples of Kuiper Belt objects. But why would researchers be so keen to get a glimpse at this formation at the outer edges of our world? For starters, even the smallest clue can help scientists to continue to piece together the puzzle about how our universe was formed and how it evolved into the mysterious and incredibly complex world that we know today. The Kuiper Belt is a perfect candidate for hidden clues because of the incredible variety of objects that circle within its limits. Different orbits, atmospheres, colors, sizes, shapes, and geologic activity make it pretty much any astronomer's dream. Previous attempts to get a closer look at these bodies have been largely uninformative, but the James Webb Space Telescope possesses much more sensitive infrared cameras that will hopefully be able to get a better glimpse at the variety beyond Neptune. Jonathan Lunin, an astronomer working with the Webb team, described the plethora of icy objects in the Kuiper Belt as the graveyard of solar system formation, with some objects having likely been in orbit for billions upon billions of years. Analysis of these objects will hopefully be able to provide valuable data about what the world might have looked like in its formative years, which we currently do not have very clear-cut ideas about. Heidi Hamel with the Webb interdisciplinary team said that using Webb we will be able to get information about surface chemistry that might be able to give us some clues into why there are these different populations in the Kuiper Belt. Hopefully the James Webb Telescope will provide information and the clearer image into the depths of the Milky Way that astronomers have been in search of for years. And there is no telling what mysteries will be uncovered there. Black hole jets might be sending trio of high-energy particles at Earth. The infinite mass of space has caused lots of problems for scientists seeking answers to a multitude of questions, including the long-standing mystery with a likely simple solution of where do the ultra-high-energy cosmic rays, high-energy neutrinos and gamma rays constantly raining down on Earth come from. Even though the answer itself might not be too complicated, finding that answer is a much harder challenge, as the intricate void of space makes it an almost insurmountable challenge to attempt to track down the source of these common particles, which produce millions of times more energy than has ever been available on our own planet. All scientists have been able to determine is that these strange beams originate outside of the Milky Way, but we might be getting one step closer to the answer at long last. Recently, the two researchers collaborated to create a mind-boggling model that proposes that the source of not one, but all these incredibly high energy rays is none other than supermassive black hole jets. They were led to this conclusion by the observation that, although each of these three types of particles may seem unrelated at first, they all actually produce similar amounts of power and possess what appears to be related intensities, prompting researchers to search for an unlikely solution that would include all three rays, which led them to the black hole jets. Kota Marasi, an assistant professor at Penn State University and one of the developers of this new model, explained that the new model suggests that very high-energy neutrinos and high-energy gamma rays are naturally produced via particle collisions as daughter particles of cosmic rays, of their parent particles. It demonstrates that the similar energetics of the three cosmic messengers may not be a mere coincidence. This research is groundbreaking, as it carefully analyzes the individual components of all three of these particles in order to shed some light on what is currently a very dim topic. This newly proposed black hole phenomenon is described as multi-messenger emission and refers to the strange myriad of phenomena that is observed in cosmic events such as these supermassive black hole jets. This question is one that has puzzled astronomers for decades, and the two researchers were able to offer a relatively simple solution, and one that did not rely on observations taken from satellite or telescope images attempting to track the source of these powerful bursts. Rather, they analyzed the intrinsic components of the rays themselves, instead looking for clues within about where they could have come from. These new propositions now can provide a new direction for researchers seeking answers as they attempt to confirm the multi-messenger emission model. If proved true, this incredible discovery could usher in a new age for astronomy, as one of the most perplexing and enduring space mysteries could finally be considered closed at long last. But what do you make of these recent discoveries? The Large Hadron Collider, the most recent addition to the CERN accelerator complex, is the world's largest and most powerful particle accelerator. It works through superconducting magnets and is based in the European Organization for Nuclear Research in Switzerland. The Large Hadron Collider consists of a 27-kilometer ring of superconducting magnets with a number of accelerating structures to boost the energy of the particles along the way. CERN, the European Physics Research Center, recently upgraded the Large Hadron Collider. The upgrade comes years after the collider managed to provide scientists with answers to a riddle when it confirmed the Higgs boson exists. CERN currently has 23 member states, but as of right now Russia is not a former member of the organization. However, Russian scientists make up many of the scientists at the CERN complex. It's estimated that around 12,000 members work here, with 1,000 of them being Russian. Pretty much all of us are now aware of what's going on in regards to Russia and Ukraine, And Ukrainian scientists have just announced that they're not happy with everything that's going on and requested that CERN halt cooperation with Russian scientific institutions. CERN officials said the following. 23 member states of CERN condemn in the strongest terms the military invasion of Ukraine and deplore the resulting loss of life and humanitarian impact. Deeply touched by the widespread and tragic consequences of the aggression, the CERN management and personnel, along with the scientific community in CERN's member states, are working to contribute to the humanitarian effort in Ukraine and to help the Ukrainian community at CERN. CERN's member states also said they would support Ukraine scientists and researchers, and that they will suspend Russia from observer status. Instead, they will not begin new collaborations with Russian institutions. The CERN Council continued with the following. The situation will continue to be monitored carefully, and the Council is ready to take any further measures, as appropriate at its future meetings. The CERN Council also expresses its support to the many members of the CERN Russian scientific community who have openly rejected this invasion. CERN, as the leading scientific laboratory, should terminate immediately any cooperation with Russian institutions, because otherwise every crime and every injustice made by their government and their armed forces is seen as legitimate. We call on a democratic society, on scientific society to stand with us against this tyrant, Russian President Vladimir Putin. End quote. Most comments in regards to this post followed the same theme, with residents and researchers within this field saying that they've had enough of it, and that they just want to get on with their lives. One researcher said that both Ukraine and Russian scientists don't want to get involved with it, saying that they don't want their jobs or research to be impacted, and that they want all of this to end as soon as possible. This isn't the only company to announce it's cutting ties with Russia, and as of right now, it's left people with various different opinions. For example, a few days ago Netflix announced it was going to shut down its service in Russia, and this led to thousands of comments on the post. One person said the following: the hypocrisy of the US and other countries in regards to this situation is astounding. I'm not going into detail, but we are aware of what the US has done in the past 20 years. Or should I say, are people aware of what the US has done in the past 20 years? This is the problem when you start doing stuff like this and throwing around accusations. People would then bring up what other countries have done and gotten away with. It just becomes a mess. Another said the following: I don't think this helps the situation. It's just isolating the people further. If you have no connection to the rest of the world through the multicultural Netflix shows, then all they're left with is what their own government is trying to tell them. Or this person said the following: those actions are very significant. And for those who are saying that the Russian citizens shouldn't suffer because of one person, maybe small steps like this will cause more people to be aware of what Russia is doing right now. Every small step matters right now. Another person said the following: I'm still not sure about all of this. And to be honest, I just agree with most of the comments saying that they wish all of this would end. These actions may have a negative impact, and Russian citizens may look elsewhere for support. Who really knows what's going on right now? Every day more theories are coming out of the woodwork in regards to what's happening. For me, I just hope all of the innocent people are kept out of this as much as possible, and I think it's better to keep the Russian people in the loop and not make them feel alienated. So what do you guys make of these comments from big companies, and how they've said they've stopped doing business in Russia? And do you think CERN should stop working with Russian officials because of everything that's happened?